One subject that you should avoid talking about is politics. Indeed, if you mention anything about politics on YouTube these days in a comment, you get attacked within minutes with accusations of being an idiot, a moron, not understanding anything, not knowing anything, and that you need to read books. It's a really hostile environment. The other subject is religion, and although it doesn't get as aggressive as politics, it is a very sensitive subject for a lot of people, so it's something that's normally best avoided. Nonetheless, I am going to talk a little bit today about the Thai belief system. And I do see a distinction between a belief system and religion, so it's not really about religion. And I don't want to be judgmental in this video, this is just observational. When I first moved to Asia, I spent a lot of time in Singapore, and I found a little Buddhist centre that had a lot of books for free distribution. And I read dozens of them. I've since donated them to a local meditation centre to add to their collection of books. And I'm by no means an expert. To understand Buddhism properly requires a lifetime of learning. But I have a basic knowledge of things like the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, impermanence, non-attachment, grasping and craving. And applying these things to my own life has really made my life better. I've never regarded Buddhism as a religion per se. I really regard it as an understanding of the human condition. And I think it's the finest understanding of the human condition that's ever been written. With Thailand being a Buddhist country, this is one of the things that drew me to Thailand. But once you get to Thailand and observe the actual belief system, there's not a lot of correlation between what you see and what you read in books about Buddhism. In the books I read about Buddhism, I never read about magic amulets, magic tattoos, and spirit houses. The Thai belief system before Buddhism was Animism, and since Buddhism was introduced, the two belief systems have sort of been mixed together. And what makes it more confusing is a lot of the supernatural practices are performed by guys in Buddhist robes. So to the outsider, a lot of the stuff that goes on appears to be Buddhism, but it's not actually Buddhism. I think I've mentioned before that Thais are probably the most superstitious people on earth, and nothing in their lives happens without a reason. To find out the reason for someone's bad luck, a fortune teller will be consulted, and if the fortune teller identifies the problem, the Thai person will make changes. If their name is wrong, they will change their name. If their phone number is wrong, they will change their telephone number. And if they have a white car, but the fortune teller tells them they should really have a red car, they will put a sign on the back of the car saying that this white car is red. With the animist belief system, all inanimate objects contain a spirit or a soul, and these need to be taken care of. And another reason for a person's bad luck is because they're not taking care of the spirits around them. And if they don't do that, then the spirits can turn malevolent. My wife isn't Chinese, she's ethnic Thai, although she's probably got some Chinese DNA like most Thais. But every Chinese New Year, she performs this ceremony. She goes out and buys food, prepares it on a table, and then does her little praying bit to respect the spirits in our house so that her good luck will continue. New Thai houses come with absolutely nothing. They're just an empty shell. So as soon as we got the house, I had to start putting things in. And even before I put in any furniture, the first thing I had to do was put up this shelf. This is called a hing prat. And this is where my wife pays her respects to the spirits in the house on Buddhist observance days, which are known as One Prat in Thai. After a few years in the house, she decided that she wanted a spirit house, a San Prapum. And you see these everywhere in Thailand. And the size is related to the size of the building that they're taking care of. So if you go to a big shopping mall in Bangkok, you will see huge spirit houses outside. Our housing development has quite a large spirit house at the front. That's the spirit house to look after the whole development. And then individual houses will also have spirit houses. There are shops that sell spirit houses, but what you don't do is just go out and buy a spirit house and plant it in the garden in a convenient location. Oh no. The guy you see here is in his 90s, and first he had to come to the house and give us some advice on the location of the spirit house. He gave us two possible locations. The first was northwest facing east, and the other was northeast facing southwest. We chose northwest facing east because in the other location the spirits will be disturbed by people walking past. A plinth had to be built, and this had to be exactly 2 inches higher than the patio that it was adjacent to, as you can see from the video. When I asked my wife about the man, she told me that he has special powers and he could see things that other people couldn't see. From the description she gave me, it sounded just like a medium in the Western world, except that in the UK, mediums are always elderly women called Doris, and in Thailand, they're always elderly men. After the location had been decided and we'd built the plinth, he then has to decide on an auspicious day to install the spirit house. So he gave us a date. Now, just before that date, his son called to say that he was very scared about COVID and didn't want to leave the house. So he couldn't come. And the next auspicious date was next year, so we'd have to wait a year. And this wasn't very good news. But fortunately, he called again saying that there was an auspicious day and that he would be able to come. On the appointed day, the spirit house arrived on a truck. Now, these things are all handmade, all hand-painted, and they're quite expensive. And because it was my wife that wanted one, she paid for it all. She paid for the spirit house, which I think was around 12,000 baht. She paid to have the plinth made, which I think was around 3,000 baht. And there's also decorations that need to go onto the spirit house, and they were quite expensive as well. So I think the total cost was getting close to around 20,000 baht. The guy who made the spirit house delivered it and turned up with a couple of assistants, and it must have taken them about 2 hours to put it all together. They needed to do it all very carefully, and it was a very delicate operation. The medium man started to decorate the spirit house with flowers, candles and little figurines. And he noticed that there were two very important little figurines that weren't there. So then he had to get on his phone and order them before he could go any further. My wife had prepared quite a lot of food, and once the installation was complete, there was a lot of praying, chanting and eating to make sure that everything was in order and auspicious. My wife is now very busy on Buddhist observance days because she has the spirit shelf inside the house and the spirit house outside the house. She goes to the market either in the morning or the day before to buy flowers, and she also prepares fruit and drinks. I wasn't sure how the dates of Buddhist observance days were decided, but you can find information online, and I checked on my calendar and they all correlate to phases of the moon, either full moon or half moon. As I said at the start of the video, religion can be a very sensitive subject, and I really hope I haven't upset or offended anyone. That certainly wasn't the intention. The only intention was to take a bit of a closer look at Thai belief systems. Buddhist Thais are extremely tolerant towards other religions, and so am I. Faith is a personal thing, and people are entitled to believe in whatever they want. In the deep south of Thailand, there are many Muslims. I have Muslim neighbours and no problems at all. My one proviso is that religious beliefs don't cause harm to others, but unfortunately that isn't always the case, as we've seen again in Paris recently. But provided people don't cause harm to others, they're entitled to believe in whatever they want.